Posted a video on TikTok, actually this one.
So you're undocumented and you haven't started your business because you're afraid of your identity. You're afraid that maybe you could get the
Went kind of viral on the 7 ways that people can protect their identities under the Trump administration. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing the 8 strategies that an undocumented entrepreneur can take. This could be applied for undocumented students, undocumented professionals, undocumented allies. Go ahead and share this video if you find it helpful. And just remember, if you're watching it on YouTube, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And if you're watching it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, go ahead and give it a rating. Okay, give me one of those stars. All right, I'm trying to get to 100. All right, now back to the episode.
Welcome to UndocuStartup by Juan Maya Hernandez.
Right, so starting out with the first strategy that you can use to protect your identity. The first one is to get an EIN. So an EIN stands for an employer identification number. This is, just think of this number like a social security number for your business. This is how the IRS identifies it, right? From my personal experience, I actually got an EIN applying it by myself with an SSN number. Once I got DACA, I actually apply online with an SS4 form. All the instructions are online, so feel free to read it and fill it out on your own. But in order for you to get an EIN, you need to have an ITIN number or you need to have an SSN number. Now, how does it protect your identity? So it protects your identity by allowing you to, 1, open up a separate business bank account with your EIN. It's going to ask you that if you're trying to open up a business bank account. Number 2, you can also, you run contracts with your business like I do. They're gonna, your clients, my clients send me a W-9 form. So this is just a tax ID form that a client asks me so I can give them my tax ID number. On the section where it asks for a tax ID number, you can actually use an EIN instead of an ITIN or an SSN. So again, providing more identity protection, so like that you don't have to share your ITIN, you don't have to share your SSN. Now strategy number dos is to legalize your business or use a different name for your business. So for example, right, when you legalize your business, you could do different business structures. The 2 main ones you should really think about, but a sole proprietorship is good, or an LLC. Now, if you get a sole proprietorship, when you set up your company as a sole proprietorship, you're gonna get set up under your own name, right? So one of the ways that you can actually mitigate this is you can get a doing business as or a fictitious business name to conduct business under a different name. So if I'm starting a photography business, I can get a DBA under Headshots on the Go, which was actually my first company, right? Now, if you set up an LLC, you can actually name that LLC with something other than your name. So today I do have a LLC, it's called Prepare LLC, and I was able to choose that name. This is great because it protects your name from the public and you're able to conduct business without sharing your name. Okay. Now, strategy number 3 is, this one is more on the marketing side, right? So right now, I am building my own personal brand. I tell people openly I'm undocumented. I do have DACA, so that also gives me some sort of protection. And that's also the reason why maybe other people don't do it as much as I do it. But if you look at like top companies, they actually don't have a face behind it, right? So if you want to build a brand for your own company, you don't have to have a personal face to it. You can have a mascot for your marketing, right? When you think of Disney, what comes to mind, right? Mickey Mouse, right? When you think of Disneyland, you think of Mickey Mouse, and that's the whole brand is in the shape of the brand. There's even a roller coaster named after Mickey Mouse, right? Strategy number 4 is set up your business. If you're working from home, this is specifically if you're working from home, you're doing a business from home, is to set up a virtual business address. All right, so let me explain what this is. And these are actual physical addresses depending on where you're located. But for me, for example, I recently set up a virtual business address. But to set up a virtual business address, all you really need to have is to go to these websites, iPostal, or go to the website Anytime Mailbox. And right there, you will get to see what are the mailboxes available in your area, so you are able to set them up, right? And again, you pay monthly, right? So the one that I got is anywhere from $20 to $25 a month. It's an actual physical address, so it allows you to get all your packages, all your orders, all your invoices over there to that location. So it has like different services, right? So one of the services that I learned very recently, because again, I just recently got it, so I'll probably make a separate video follow up on this. But one of the services that I thought is really neat is like email forwarding. So my clients will mail it to that virtual business address, And then from that virtual business address, they'll mail it to me personally. And again, this is perfect if you're working from home. So if you have any digital service business, this is going to come in handy, right? So if you're doing a marketing agency from home, if you're doing anything from home, you're able to use another address instead of your own. Now, if you're okay with just having your own business address out there to the public, that's fine that's fine with me, right? I mean, this is just another strategy that you can use. Interrupt your video to answer questions that I've been receiving on my social media accounts or even on my on my comments. And today we're going to be answering this question. You can't really see it, but I'm gonna put it on the screen, and it says, remove yourself, better yet, get documents. Okay, this was 5 months ago, by the way. Okay, and I said, what? He said, yes. I said, okay, I'll do it. And then he said, just removing this post will suffice. And I said, have a great day, my friend. All right, this is just a note to everybody comments that comments anything about deportation, talks anything about being illegal, whatever, and people saying like, why didn't you get documents? Trust me, if I knew how to do it and if it was really easy, if it was in my control, I would have already done it. Okay, so just answering that question really quickly. And also to say that thank you so much for your comments. It really helps the algorithm. It doesn't affect me at all. I've gone through worse things in my life. And yeah, that's pretty much it. But thank you all so much for joining this little segment of my podcast. And just remember that if you have any questions that you want me to answer, DM me on Instagram, DM me on TikTok, comment them down below, and I will answer them in a future episode. Now back to the episode. All right, strategy number 5. Strategy number 5 is to register your business under a registered agent. So what does this mean? All right, so when you set up a company, especially an LLC, a corporation, you're gonna need somebody to get legal documents on your behalf. All right, so when I set up my LLC, I didn't do this on my own, right? I was able to go on this website, LegalZoom.com, and they were the ones that helped me file all the paperwork. They are the ones that notify me of my business, if it's in good compliance, what do I need to do, when are the taxes due, etc. Right? So if you set up a company using a registered agent, that means that when your company is looked online, because actually, you can, on the Secretary of State website, you can look at all the different companies and the names of the registered agents there. But if you have a registered agent like a LegalZoom, their name, the name of that company is going to show up instead of your name. So that gives you another form of, identity protection. Strategy number 6 is a worker cooperative. One of the ways that you can also protect your identity if you're going into entrepreneurship is starting a worker cooperative with some of your friends. So how does this work? So a worker cooperative is ultimately a business that is owned by, let's say you and your 5 buddies are creating a company. All of your 5 buddies can become owners of the company, but let's say you get $5,000 into the company and there's 5 of you. That $5,000 is going to go to the business bank of that company. And then from those $5,000 after taxes, they're going to distribute, after taxes and expenses, they're going to distribute the money individually. Every individual person is going to be able to pay their own taxes on their own. And it protects your identity because you're using the company again instead of your own name, right? So you're using a company. Let's say it was Tutoring LLC. You can use that Tutoring LLC to get paid, so your name is not associated with it. Strategy number 7 to protect your identity is to use a secondary phone number. And this is actually a great way that I didn't think about it, right? Like, I think this first year when I did my business, I was giving my number out to different people, and that meant that a lot of people had my number. They knew how to reach me, and even I got a message from somebody that I didn't even know how they got my number. So I started thinking of like, how can I protect my phone number so like not just any random person can message me. And the way to do that is to get a secondary phone number, right? So you could either get a burner phone number prepaid, or what I started doing most recently, and what I'm going to do this year is there's actually applications online on the App Store. If you have an Android, I'm sure on the Android store as well. You can actually get a separate phone number with Wi-Fi, or as long as you have some form of service. And then you can connect with clients, you can connect with other people, you could actually even get a SIM card on it. So again, another layer of protection where even though it is connected to maybe your email or whatever, you're having a separate phone number, so no one actually has your personal phone number. So I think that's pretty neat. And now the last and final way that you can protect your identity is to use a separate business email for your business. So how do you do this? There's two ways. The first way that I've done this is I went on Google email, created a new user, completely new email. It doesn't even have to be a business email, but you can just name it first name prepare last name web at gmail.com, and that's how I was able to have my first like business email, and I had to pay anything. Now the second way that I recommend, but it is more costly, is to have a domain connected to that, right? So for example, if you have a website, your website URL, a domain is just the URL. So for example, my domain of my company is www.preparebiz.com. Now that exact domain, I pay for it every year, but you can actually create a Gmail account, a business Gmail account that has jmayahern at preparebiz.com. And that's the second way that you can have a separate email for your business. Okay. So thank you all so much for joining today's episode of UndocuStartup. Go ahead and please, share this episode, because I know a lot of people out there are really concerned about their identity, and I'll probably make a part 2, part 3 on maybe other stuff. But again, let me know, comment down below, and share this with a friend. Thank you so much. And as always, be motivated and stay motivated, baby. Bye-bye.
Welcome to UndocuStartup by Juan Maya Hernandez.